up, YouTube? Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Prestige Reef Dork Show. I think I timed that to perfection. Every time I see the thing doing the countdown, it's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I sit in there, wait, and then I watch the screen, and when the screen comes on, I know we're live. And when I watch it back, it's like there's a 2-second pause where I'm like going, "What's that?"
I've never noticed that, but
it's one of the stupid things I notice.
It looks perfect to me.
Pro level stuff, right? Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Prestige Reef Dork Show. This is episode 35. We've done 35 of these, right?
Is it actually? I didn't know. Yeah. I've never noticed that you put the episodes in there.
Yeah. Just because if you discovered this 6 months down the line, it's good to have it in order and you can work through them. But yes, 35. I look.
People will be like, episode 1, episode 3, They talk about the same stuff every week.
So yeah, this is the same. Just watch the first one.
Yeah.
And I noticed. I looked through the stats. I got the software that upload stuff to as the podcast, the audio to the podcast.
Yeah,
that tells you how many downloads you get. It sends you an email every now and then that says, "Hey, well done." I mean, hit 25,000 downloads.
Really?
Recently, yeah.
That's unbelievable.
It's good. So the thing is, like this, the live stream gets like 4,000 or 5,000 views roughly.
Yeah.
I know how I can see how that compares to other live streams on YouTube. But I've got stats that aren't really available on podcasts, so I don't know how that compares. But I delved into it, and I was like, well, which ones were popular? Which one do people like? The most popular one was
the one I wasn't in.
No, it was how to keep corals, tips from a pro coral farmer.
Was it actually? It's interesting.
Yeah. And the second,
who did you have on?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, signature frags. And the second most popular one, Jay's Real Reef.
Oh, that's nice. It's interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, quick stat update for you guys.
Yeah.
So, hello, welcome, Ryan. How are you? Oh, hang on. I'm Alex, and with me, as always, is the most eligible bachelor in reef keeping, Ryan Marchant. Ryan, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I like how you clarify your name as well. Like, I'm
Alex.
assuming that's not for me. You're like, "Hi, I'm Alex." And I'm like, "Yep, nice we do this every week."
I know, yeah. In case you forget, I know you've got bad memory.
I am good. I'm good. I've actually had a very, very good couple of days, basically. So I'm in an excitable mood. Let's put it that way.
Good. Well, I'm feeling positive as well. So
good. There you go. We'll have a nice, happy live stream this week then.
Yeah, indeed. Everything's great. Not going to upset anybody.
Is everyone in the chat great? Come on, let us know.
Are you well? Yeah, I'm not going to shout at I'm not going to shout at like alkalinity for being stupid. So you know. All good, cool. Well, what have you been up to the last week? How's your week in reefing, shall I say?
Okay, so do you remember last week that when you came to my house, you damaged my very delicate ego when you said the coral farm?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I started doing on Monday this week was I started to clean, like industrially clean the coral farm. Like, just don't get your hopes up, because let me tell you what happened.
I was rent free up there.
No, let me tell you what happened. Look, I am. It's funny that this affected me, because when you're a YouTuber, you have a pretty thick skin. Like, not a lot, like, gets through it anymore. But for some reason, that did bother me. So on Monday, I started cleaning, and wiping out any salt creep off, like the sumps and stuff like that. And then when I was doing that, I noticed 3 leaks, 3 tiny, like pinhole water leaks. And one of the tanks I'd noticed for a long time had it was getting through RO water quite quickly, and I'm like, why is this evaporating so much? And I now realize that it was just like one tiny drop, but the salinity wasn't really wasn't noticeably changing. But remember, because I take water out all the time and put water back in and things like that, it's like it's hard to keep track of it. They're not particularly. It's not like a normal tank having a coral farm. Like, things change quite often. And they're also huge systems. So if it's leaking out like one drop every minute, it's not like that noticeable. So the next day I decided to deal with those. Now, I didn't deal with them immediately because I found them at about 8 o'clock at night. And this is for everyone else. Do not do anything with your tanks unless it's an absolute emergency at 8 o'clock at night. because you will probably screw something up, and then you cannot. There's nothing you can do. You can't go to a shop or anything. So, but only if it's an emergency. If it's an emergency, you can do it. But this has obviously been leaking for a while. So I just thought, I just thought I'll leave it until the morning, just in case. And it was fine. So I've sealed those leaks, not leaking anymore. So that's the first thing I did.
The amount, in terms of emergencies, though, the amount of times I've sat down and I've thought, because there was one time I tried to, I can't remember what I tried to do, but it involved taking off the overflows of a tank. And I started at like 10 o'clock at night or something.
Yeah.
And man, did that ever go wrong? And I was up till I was up till gone midnight. I blew the fuses in the house. This was my first ever tank.
Yeah.
It was a disaster. All sorts of other stuff went wrong. So that was like, it was good to find that early on because you don't do it again. But there are still times when I'm like, nah, it's 7 o'clock, it'll be all right. And I'm like, I know it won't. I'm like, no, I'll leave it. And then I just do it. And it's like, oh.
So I always remember when I put calc into the tank directly.
Powder.
And I did that. And it was a lot. It wasn't a small amount. It turned the tank white. Let's put it that way. And I did that about 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And I was up. I saw the sun go down. And I saw the sun come back up the next morning while trying to solve the problem, pouring bottles of vinegar in, to try to deal with it. So I know what it's like if something goes wrong and you literally have to stay up all night if you have to. So I just thought, well, if I hadn't have been cleaning at this exact moment, I would not have noticed this. Therefore, it cannot be an emergency. If it was like peeing out loads of it, I would have noticed it and then I would have had to deal with it. But so I just drained the tanks, resealed them, all good. So that was fine. And the other two were actually underneath the bottom tray and they were dripping into the sump. So it didn't particularly matter, but I just thought if I'm going to do this, because it's obviously a weak point on the pipe work. And if it gets worse, it could go like much worse, if you see what I mean. So I thought I'll get that out of the way. So that is that.
Before you go on, what silicon did you use?
I bought it ages ago. It's just a HA6. It's just a black one from Maidenhead. That's all I know. Okay. It's got a picture of a fish on it, so I paid the fish tax. So I'm pretty sure it's got a picture of a fish on it.
The one I use is dirt cheap, but it comes in massive bottles, and they're the big squeezy things like you get from B&Q. It's this stuff HA6.
Yeah.
But look, £5 and that will last you a lifetime.
Actually, it looks like that. So maybe they just overcharged me.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they sell that in aquarium shops, but
yeah. So maybe it is that. Okay. With regards to the water box, I finally broke. I finally gave in.
Yes, you did.
And it's interesting this bit because while I'm talking about this, it might be. Nah, actually, don't worry about it. But so I decided that I've had enough of looking at the diatoms, and I was going to black out the tank. I was going to. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's what I was going to actually do. So I blacked out with cardboard. I turned the lights off. I put in carbon, which I don't think was actually doing anything, but it might do something. Just because obviously the diatoms are going to die. So if they're releasing anything, I want the carbon in there. So that's just preemptive. Yeah. I need to change it anyway. I put in a silicate remover. Is it just me or is the audio bad? Someone's written. So is it? One sec. Audio should be fine on my end.
Should be fine on my end too. Everything looks good. But everybody else, if it is bad or if it's different, tell us.
So
carbon,
so then I put in some like Raufoss because that actually removes silicates as well at the same time. So I did that. So I'm basically going all methods. I don't particularly. People go, "Oh, you won't know which one works," but I don't particularly care which one works as long as one of them works. And I know you mentioned the ozone potentially does it.
Yeah.
Does Ryan have a cold? Ryan does not have a cold. Ryan has a red nose for some reason.
Rudolph. Yeah.
Yes. He's been out training Father Christmas's reindeers. You know, they need someone to guide them. You see. I don't know why. And I knew someone would mention it. So I was like, do I mention it first or do they mention it first? So But yes, where was I?
So ozone,
Oh, yes.
carbon, yeah.
Well, you said ozone potentially might help it. I think, didn't you?
Yeah, so I watched. I've been watching loads of ozone videos lately and reading ozone articles wherever I can find. There's not much on the internet about ozone, but there are a few really good detailed ones. And there was a BRS video that I like. The BRS videos I like watching now are not like the last couple of weeks. They've just put out loads of these like 5-minute videos, and I don't watch them. I just they pass me by. But the ones I love watching,
because you watch some unbelievable crap.
I do, yeah. But the ones I really like are when it's Ryan talking to. He talks to the guy Elliot from Marine Collectors.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be Elliot; it can be anyone. Like a 45-minute chat where they properly go into it, because it's not when, like, you'll know as well, when you write a video and it's scripted. You script it because you don't want to be going and you want to make sure you make all the right points. But when it's a bit more free flowing, you get a bit more of a deeper explanation, and I really enjoyed that. And there was this 45-minute video on ozone, and there were just a couple of, like, most of it is stuff that I was like, yep, cool, fine. But there were just a couple of tidbits in there that were like, yeah. And one of them was the clip I sent you.
Yeah. Oh yes, yeah. That's why you sent the clip. Yeah. So, so if it doesn't fix it, I can try that. Some people suggest the UV star. There's a whole range of different things. The thing I found most interesting, I posted that picture on Instagram, and so that was the only picture that I posted. There is no picture anywhere of. There is a video where I showed the diatoms ages ago, but there's no other information anywhere. And everyone, all of a sudden, not everyone, but a few people suddenly started diagnosing my tank without ever seeing it. This is what the internet is like. People are going, they were giving all sorts of random advice.
There was one comment that I saw that he was like he was annoyed. He was like, I can't remember what he said, but he ended it FFS.
Yeah, I remember.
It was it was like you pissed him off. But this is but like the point you're making about people haven't identified it. So I've seen that tank.
Yeah,
and it's not like, because I think someone was like, oh no, diatoms are just part of the process, what you're doing. And actually, and that's true, but not the way you've got diatoms.
but so you've just confirmed another experienced reefer. What are they? What is in that tank?
There's about 3% water, 97% diatoms, basically.
Okay, so other people were going, you haven't got diatoms, you've got dinoflagellates.
Oh,
fine, right. But like, is that person seen the tank?
This is a thing, yeah. But and so I've seen it, and it's so thick that it doesn't look like typical diatoms.
Yeah, because there's no like bubbles.
But I didn't have. No, that's the thing. I didn't find myself looking at it thinking, oh, I wonder if that's dinos as well. Because it might be. Who knows? And you can't, like, the only way to really know is get a microscope. But I didn't look at that and think, oh mate, I think you might have this as well. But anyway, diagnosing,
So, and then there were people going, blackouts don't work. What I can tell you, 100% certain, after 4 days, that the entire tank is crystal clear.
Well, you started it. That's partly because of the carbon, but I know what you mean. But
that's true, actually.
You started it because you turned the lights off for a day,
and
like the next day it looked amazing. So you're like, right. And that, because you've been talking about doing a blackout for a while, but that kind of tipped you over the edge, I felt.
Yeah, and I also got a load of cardboard boxes delivered to the house, so I was like, really? Might as well get this done now. I'm gonna have to cut them up anyway, so might as well.
But the only thing I'll say, because lots of people were suggesting ways of dealing with it, and I wouldn't have dealt with it the way you did either. And one thing that shows is that.
Why then?
I'm not saying you're wrong. One thing that shows is that lots of people have got opinions on how to fix things, and I think actually most of it comes from a place of just wanting to help.
Yes.
The guy who was angry, maybe not, but
but he was the one who said only run blue lighting, which I'm not sure.
Yeah, I thought that was odd. But anyway, but the other thing it tells you is a lot of those comments were like, that would probably work, that might work, this, and there's a million ways of dealing with it. And that's, so I wouldn't do that, but I'm not saying it won't work. It looks like it absolutely is, maybe even the best way of doing it.
Well, do you know why I went that route? Because Reef Bum has done a specific web page on it, and that's what he did. Really? And I was like, oh, he's someone who definitely knows what he's talking about. And I've seen his tanks, so I know that it's like coming from a very high quality source of information.
He's sans bullshit as well, isn't he? He's not. He's
So I thought I'll give this a go, When I say crystal clear, it's not. I meant like the sand is pure white and the carbon wouldn't have done that. So yeah, that's what I've done. And the other thing that you'll be happy to know, I'm not going to put the lights on still for a while. So I took the corals out first. So I cut all the corals off and took them out. One coral is left in there. I didn't realize I'd missed one. And it's a piece of like crazy tea Montipora, and I've got loads of it. So I thought this will be interesting. I'm just going to leave it in there just to see what happens. And at the moment, after 4 days, it still looks exactly the same.
Interesting.
So, and I'm adding copepods, but they've not turned up yet.
Oh, right, brilliant. Where did you get them from? Reef Phyto.
Yes.
Yeah. How many did you get, or how much did it cost?
A litre or something, I think.
A litre,
like 50 quid or something. I was like, ow, this hurts.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
But I just thought, if I'm going to go through all this effort, and then obviously I'm not going to turn the lights back on. I will literally turn one light on, probably at one end of the tank, and then one on the other end of the tank, and then like slowly over a period of time, just to see what happens, basically.
Will you put them on like full 12 hours a day, or will you put them on plug timers?
I don't know. It depends how lazy I am. It depends. Let's put it this way. I'll put one on, see if it has an impact, and then if it doesn't have an impact, I'll just leave it.
Can I come around and install plug timers? Because
if you want.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah. So to be fair, whilst you've done it differently to the way I would, you've done a similar version. So I would have turned the lights down.
Yeah.
And I would have put pods in as well. And which is basically the same as you've done, only you've turned the lights right down.
Yeah, pitch black.
Exactly. Yeah.
The fish are a little bit confused, and I'm not joking. It's weird if you can't see into your tank. It makes you feel very unhappy. Like it makes you feel very not secure.
On edge, like, yeah.
Because obviously the fish are in there, and I'm just like for all I know, they could all have something wrong with them at the moment. I've not looked at them for 4 days. So, but even when I just put a little sliver of light on, I can see them. They're all eating and everything, so I assume they're fine. But we shall see. They'll be like this when I turn the light back on. I'm like, ow, my eyes.
Yeah.
So actually, what I probably will do is I will take the cardboard off and have it as ambient light as well for a period of time.
That's a good idea. Yeah. When did you do this? 3 days ago, it says on Instagram.
Yeah, I took the picture the same day I put it on. Oh no, I think I put the picture up the day after. So 4 days ago. Saturday,
Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. So did you say you'll keep it on for a week?
Yes. Yeah.
So
at least until the pods arrive. And I ordered those Friday, which means they're probably going to be here Wednesday, I reckon. Hopefully so.
They're actually on the point of the activated carbon, just going back, there was a BRS video that I did watch, a new one the other day, where he talked about coral warfare, and remember that someone flagged on one of the members' questions, talked about allelopathy.
Yes.
When corals release toxic. Yeah. Turns out it's pronounced allelopathy. I can't even remember how you pronounce it now. Allelopathy? I can't remember. But he talked about that, and he talked about it in terms of cyano. And I think most people, when you're treating cyano, you add carbon as well, because just everything looks sad when you've got cyano and everything. So, and I can't remember if you mentioned it in terms of diatoms. See, diatoms, like normally, if there's just a few of them, it's not going to do anything. But when there's like 10 billion, like you have, I wonder if it's the sort of thing that happens.
I really wonder if. I think something happened with that tank at some point. I'm not sure how. I think maybe to do with the automated water change or something. I don't know whether the salinity got too high or too low, and it's unlikely because they're one of the hardiest things. There's no copepods in there. The entire tank has no microfauna at all, but there was. So where did it go?
Did you introduce stuff?
Yeah. I was literally taking them out, like. When I would get corals or something, I would literally just put or dip them or thing. I'd put them in separately into a little pot, and then I would put them in, put them for a strainer, and put them in. Maybe their population crashed because they're all inbred because there wasn't enough of them. You see what I mean? Maybe because I was mainly putting the big ones, which I think the big ones are amphipods, aren't they? So maybe there was nothing smaller than that, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm not sure what it was, but there is no microfauna in that tank at all, which I thought was really odd because there definitely was at one point.
Do you know, I notice specifically in the 2 tanks in this room, the Cade and the water box, I never see microfauna, but in the main tank, in fact, even in the main tank, the only time I see that is when I move the tons of algae magnet off it and they come around. Or like today, I took a frag rack out and there were a load of pods on it, so I put them in my my little tank. But I don't ever notice them unless the only time I ever notice them is if I pick something up and there's a bristleworm on or whatever.
Yeah, but do you have wrasse in some of your tanks, though, don't you?
Yes, in one of them, the main tank, I've got 2.
But they're massive wrasse, aren't they?
Not anymore. So most of I've had them for about 6 years, and most of them, from what I can work, they're halicoris wrasse. From what I can work out, life expectancy for halicoris wrasse is about 5 to 7 years, and they've all died. I've noticed yesterday, someone came to buy coral, and he was asking about wrasse, and I was like, oh no, he asked about how many fish I've got in the tank. And I was like, you know what? I've not seen my radiant wrasse for a little while, and all my yellow wrasse. So I think they've all died. But I've got a mystery wrasse.
You've not seen your yellow as well?
No.
Because you had a big yellow. That was a sizable fish, your yellow one.
Yeah. But because he was old.
Yeah.
And he was.
You just haven't noticed.
No, just sometimes, every now and then, you're like, fish has gone missing.
Yeah.
And he started bullying my silver belly wrasse, I don't know, about a year ago. And the silver belly disappeared. But I noticed him, the silver belly came out and he get chased by the yellow. Yeah. And I don't know if it's because he was at the end of, because animals pick on weak animals, don't they?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's because
that's why I always pick on you.
I don't know if the silver belly was dying and he was like, right, I don't like this. But no, they both they both died, and I haven't seen the radiant wrasse. To be fair, I don't find myself looking at the fish so much, so I might just not have seen them. But I think I've only got 2 wrasse left, which are 2 I added within the last 2 years.
Yeah,
but
I don't like wrasse that much. I know you like them more than me, but I just they're a utility fish for me. I would never go and I'm like, oh yeah, I really need that fancy wrasse. Whereas I do feel that way about other fish. So I feel that way about angelfish or tangs or something, but I don't feel like that I need a fancy wrasse.
Most halicoris wrasse don't turn me on, as it were.
Yeah.
I say most because some obviously.
Some do.
Oh yeah. But the leopard wrasse I've got, oh god, I can't remember what it's called. It's not a Jeff REI, it's something else. Whatever it is. Yeah, the leopard. Oh, what's it called? Macropharingodon macro.
Oh, look at you with your scientific names.
Because Meleagris, that's it. So I know the reason I know the scientific names because I did a video that included this fish. Yeah. And when you Google leopard wrasse, there's like 3 or 4 different leopard wrasse. So on that video, I had to say, look, this is next one is a leopard wrasse, and by the way, this is the Macropharingodon meleagris. And I had to practice how to say that because when you first see it, you're like, what? But it's this one. So most wrasse I'm not that asked about, but that wrasse turns me on.
Nah, it's just black and white.
Gives me a Casey Stoner.
There are much nicer wrasse than that.
All right, like what?
I don't know.
Can't name them. There you go.
Is it femininus?
Oh, femininus. Yeah.
They're the yellow and blue ones, aren't they?
Yeah. What's the other one? There's another one that's equally as expensive as a femininus.
Leonardi, isn't it?
Leonardi. Yes, that's the one. Yes. Yeah. Actually, I'm not so much of a fan of the Leonardis, but the femininus.
They get massive.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. They're like. Have you ever seen a full-grown checkerboard wrasse?
No, I don't think so.
Because in the shops you see them, they're tiny. They're like an inch long.
Yeah.
But they get big. Because sometimes, like, you go on Live Aquarium, it'll say maximum size 10 inches or whatever, and you're like, yeah, but come on, that's not going to happen. But with the checkerboard wrasse, they get big. It's like it looks like food. They get that big.
Well, one of my customers has a pudding wife. They're one of my consultation customers has a pudding wife wrasse, which I think get absolutely massive. And I'm sure he was going. I might be incorrect, but I'm sure the reason he had the consultation was because he was moving tanks. And I'm like, get that wrasse out. And he said no, because it's massive.
20 inches long they can get.
Yes, that is massive.
But look how nice it is when it's small.
You see that? I think you see those relatively commonly, I think, don't you?
From time to time. Oh, is that a pudding wife? It is. Look at that. This is a record pudding wife wrasse.
Imagine that swimming around your tank.
That's where he's holding it across both hands. It's wider than his body, including his arms.
Yeah.
That is. Oh god, that's a beast.
Can you get a checkerboard RAS up just quick? Because I'm just interested in what it said. I'm learning. I'm not very good with my RAS.
The checkerboard RAS look awesome. Like this is what they look like when they're little.
Oh yeah, I recognize that. Yeah,
but I can't see any big ones here, but they get massive. But anyway, yeah, but they're cool. I've always wanted one because they just look awesome, but they just get too big. It's just not worth it. And that's one of the fish that I wouldn't want to have to rehome. It's weird, like with tangs. I don't mind buying a tang that I know is going to outgrow the tank because I'll rehome it, but I wouldn't want to with that. I can't explain why.
No, you wouldn't want to have to catch it, I think is what you mean.
Probably, yeah. If wrasses don't turn Alex on, which fish does he find the sexiest? What's the sexiest fish? I mean, copper-banded butterfly is pretty sexy.
No.
But yeah. And Tom, member for 13 months. How many Reef Dork loyalty points do I have now? I'll have to check, but a lot.
At least 13.
At least 13. You get more than one a month. Thank you for your support, Tom. Appreciate it.
What do points mean?
Prizes.
There you go. I don't know if they actually do mean prizes, but Tom, you're now going to get a prize apparently.
Oh God, what have I said? That's why I tried to get speeding points.
Lipstick tang.
That's a good shout, actually. Yeah,
that is a sexy fish.
That's pretty hot. There's a fish called a handfish as well.
Is there?
If that doesn't turn you on, there's something wrong with you.
Hmm.
I feel like we've gone off topic, Ryan.
Probably true. Yes.
What have you been up to for the last week, apart from the stuff you've already told us? I can't remember where we got to.
No, so I basically have covered. Oh, the only other thing I found quite interesting was that the Red Sea roller mat was going off every like 5 minutes when before I turned the lights off.
It was triggering me when I heard
it was just constantly going off over and over again, and it was costing me a lot of money because it's not cheap to replace the rolls when you get. I think one roll, the roll that you fitted, I didn't tell you this. I think 2 days later had to be replaced.
2 days.
It was 2 days. Yeah. Well, you saw how often it was going off.
Yeah. And to be fair, it was quite dirty. It's not like it was just because sometimes if you set it up wrong, it just pulls through clean roll. But it was dirty. It was a dirty roll.
Yeah. So
£19 they cost.
Yeah. So that was painful for me. But whereas now it's going off like maybe once every hour, 2 hours. So that is the biggest indicator that something has come out of that water.
Yeah, this is true. Are you going to do a big water change when this is all finished, or because it'll all be in there, won't it? It's not like packed up and walked out of your tank. Yeah,
but that's what I did wonder, because like what happens? Like where's it gone? Because it literally just disintegrated. Just where did it go? But it is what I did think is it is being taken out because it's being taken out of the roll. And you do see,
that's true. Yeah.
As it's like dying off, it's obviously being blown off the rocks and things, and it floats to the surface, and it goes over the overflow, and it goes through the field stock, and then through the skimmer. So it is actually doing something, and I don't think a water change is going to make a difference. If I'm honest, you'd have to be a pretty big water change.
Yeah. Well, is it 1,000 liters your tank?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just think if everything is fine, if it's all testing correctly. It'd be interesting to see if like phosphate and nitrate change, because things that die off usually cause those, and that was a lot of die off. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, we'll just see.
That's true. Okay.
What about you?
That's it. You're done. So I've. Should we come on to the ozone stuff first? No, I'm going to do a couple of other things first. Firstly, I'm going to segue on from what you're talking about. You said something the other day that was like, it was something like, this hobby is about effort more than knowledge, or effort more than science, or something like that.
No, I think I said for me, this hobby is about effort more than
knowledge.
Yes.
But you're right. And what I was thinking, because the Cade has been looking, it's the corals are fine, everything's looking good, but there's a bit of cyano. I don't think it is cyano. It's green matty stuff that I've pegged as cyano, but I watched the live stream recently with the guy from the Dino Flagellate support group on Facebook. Yeah, and I can't remember what he said it was, but he said, when it looks like cyano but it's green, people will think it's cyano, but it's not. It's actually something else. And I can't remember what he said. But anyway, whatever. It's been fine, but it's just had a bit of a mat of that in places, and it's kind of come and gone. It's not as bad as it was, but I've just been like, and I realised that I need to actually. When I do water changes, it helps because I remove it then, and I had a proper crack at it because I never go in and scrape it off the back glass, and I never scrape it off, disturb the sand because my bloody clowns bite me.
Yes.
But this time around, I was like, it doesn't hurt. For whatever reason, I don't like doing it.
Wait till they grow up.
No, but this time, so yesterday, I just thought, you know what, I'm going to do this properly. So I did a 33% water change, roughly third of the tank.
Yeah.
And I scraped all of the back wall off completely. Oh, I've got to replace a coral. I forgot. And I stirred up I disturbed the sand gently where all the cyano was and removed as much of it as I could do. And it's looking a lot better now. I need to keep that up. I need to do the same thing again next weekend, but it's looking good. And
Will you? Or is it just a nice idea?
Well, that's the point. I'm going to Iceland next week. So there might not be a live stream next Sunday.
Oh, you kept that quiet.
We get back on Sunday. So it might not happen next week, but I've got Monday off. So I might try and do a water change on Monday. But it's just looking better now. And I like it. Do you know what? Actually, one other thing on the point of that tank. Anemones, right? Bubble tip anemones.
Yeah.
I've always, two reasons I've not bought anemones in the past. The main reason, because they crawl all over.
I didn't sell them.
Yeah, exactly, because you don't sell them.
Yeah.
Main reason, because they crawl all over the place and they sting corals, and that's what they do. And I don't want them to get stuck in parrots and all that sort of stuff. So that's the main reason. But also because loads of people say, actually, you probably shouldn't have an anemone to start with because they're quite finicky and they're quite difficult to keep. And it might well be actually that an anemone in a new tank is not a good idea because corals in a new tank isn't a good idea. So that kind of follows that it might be the same. But I found them to be really hardy.
Yeah.
Like super hardy. Like I put, they grow it for a start. I just whacked them in. The tank is, the water parameters are pretty good, to be fair. The nutrients are nice and low. Phosphate is like SPS levels and nitrate is low as well. And the flow is decent. The light is decent. Everything's good. But like one of them, I put two in that I got from you, the nice ones.
Yeah.
And one of them, they did detach straight away and went for a walk around the tank. It's like, oh God. But one of them went through a power head and it got mulched.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, that one's dead, because some of it went down the overflow, I presume, and ended up in the filter roller. But then I like a couple of weeks later, there was a tiny bit of it that was still alive.
Yeah.
And it had attached to the rock. And that now is massive. It's the size of
the bright one that died. You had a really bright one, didn't you?
I had two really bright ones that I got from you.
Oh, okay. I can't remember. I knew you got one. Oh, you was one big one and one little one, wasn't it?
Oh, I seem to remember. I can't remember because when they went in the next day, one of them had disappeared.
Okay.
But it's the size of it's an inch across. This one that was completely mangled. It was torn in half.
Yeah.
Like it had two little bubbles. That was it. Not like a nice symmetrical lot around the edge. And it's happy as Larry.
Do you want to know how I got those?
How?
I cut them in half.
Yeah, okay. Just
literally with a Stanley knife blade, like not a Stanley knife, but with a scalpel. And they're completely fine. Now, look, I do not advise people do it. It's like it is risky. If you might as well just let it split on their own, because they usually split on their own. But the interesting thing I found with them, with things like bounce mushrooms, you can divide them into like 4 or things, because they're anemones, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like so, you can divide them into 4. When I divided the bubble tips into 4, you still only get 2 survive. I don't know why that is.
Interesting.
So I found it better just to divide them into 2, let them heal, divide them into 2, let them heal, and do it that way. But people don't like it when you say you frag bubble tip anemones. I don't know. It's almost like people are like, they feel more than a normal mushroom. Do you understand?
Oh, really? Yeah, okay.
I'm not saying they do feel more. I think people associate them. I think it's because they're bigger. They don't like it when you say I fragged the bubble tip, but they don't care if you say I fragged a mushroom.
So I also wonder if, because I'm not saying that they are hardy and they're easy to keep. I'm just saying that I've found that my experience is they've been pretty solid. But I wonder if it's because people perceive them to be more delicate.
Yes, I think so. There's a lot of myths in this hobby that come from something else, I find. And I think that carpet anemones, for example, are difficult to keep. And there are a few other difficult ones. And I think they just got all thrown in together. But no one says mushrooms are difficult to keep. People say mushrooms are invasive.
Pain in the ass to get rid of. Yeah, try killing
But they're the same. They're like this. They're obviously exactly the same, but they're like from the same family, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah,
Someone will correct me on that, I'm sure.
no doubt. So I'll carry on in a sec. But Willem, super chat, thanks very much. My favorite two YouTube personalities. Love what you guys do and love the chemistry. Thanks very much. I feel like there's a pun in there somewhere about us and chemistry and reef tanks, and there's like a new name for a podcast title involving chemistry or something. But anyway. And Woody's Game Tag says, Alex, do you dose carbon? Do you carbon dose? If so, you consider stopped. Hang on. If so, you consider stopped for a bit to combat cyano. I don't dose carbon. I don't like carbon dosing. It's just really aggressive. So if you take your eye off the ball, if you don't test every 5 seconds, it'll strip everything out if you had too much. And what's the other reason? It only did nitrate. It'll blitz nitrate, no problem. It's less effective at phosphate in my experience. And you and I have said that the same thing. So no, I don't. And actually, you know what? Funnily enough. So and now we'll talk about. Let me make a note of that because otherwise I'm going to remember. I'll forget. Cyano main tank. Right. The other thing I've been doing this week is I set up my ozone sterilizer generator.
Okay, so you got the connection.
I got the connection. So
is this why you're in a good mood?
It may be, yeah. Ozone's great. But firstly, there was someone in the comments section after the video last week who told me, and I can't remember who it was, but thank you very much. They said that Deltec, who make my skimmer, make a glass T-piece. And what that means is, so the tube that sucks in air, you just attach it to that, and then it continues to draw air like it would normally do. But on the end of the T-piece is where you attach the ozone generator, so it doesn't clog, it doesn't block your main airline. So it shouldn't affect the skimmer performance. So that's brilliant. So I found that online. You can buy it from H2O Aquatics in the UK, and they had it in stock. Amazingly, so that must be a niche piece of equipment. So I got it set up, and actually getting it set up, I just wish the shops and the manufacturers would give you some kind of guide, because it's actually really not difficult. But if you don't know where to start, you're sort of pissing in the wind a little bit, unless you've got a YouTube channel where people help out in the comments. But
sorry, you cut out.
Sorry, I
can't
hear you for some reason. Did I? Okay, you did as well. But all right. But actually, so anyway, yeah, it's actually really easy. It's just you need a bit of guidance, and I wish that came as a guide in the instructions. But anyway, so what I did was I teed that off. And the tubing, ozone generators have very small inlets and outlets, so like 3 millimeters wide. And a skimmer, the inlet on the skimmer is about 8 millimeters, 10 millimeters. So getting a 3 millimeter tube to go over your skimmer is very difficult. And actually, the T-piece, this Deltec T-piece, is still 8 millimeters. It's ridiculous. I get it. It has to be 8 millimeters for the skimmer section of the tube, but the bit that goes to the ozone, make that smaller. But anyway, whatever. Maybe there's a reason. But what I saw
when you said you weren't going to moan about ozone at the beginning of this.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. But one thing I did, I watched the video, the King of DIY. Do you know him?
Yeah.
Freshwater guy. Yeah.
He did not freshwater anymore. He's got saltwater now.
Well, so YouTube suggested that to me. And he set up a saltwater tank. It's not like a reef tank. It's like macroalgae, and it's just like whatever. So he set that up, and one of the things he was doing was he had a return pump, and he was the tube was too small, and he got pliers, put them inside the tube, and then open the pliers to stretch the tube like that. And I was like, that's brilliant. I've never done that before. I've managed to get small tube over a large pipe by really forcing it with like hot water and all that, but I've never done it that way. And that way was brilliant. And that made it really easy. So then I just put that on and connected it all up. I've got a little air dryer, air drying media that it sucks through. I'm not sure that's necessary, but I've got it anyway. It was only like 15 quid. Yeah. And now it's all set up. I set my tripod up so it would be, everything would be exactly so I could take a photo before and after. But actually, I'm not going to show you the before and after photos. I'll just show you the after, because I've already got a reef mat. My water is pretty clear anyway, and I can notice when I turned it on. I turned it on for an hour at like 50%, and instantly I could notice it was clear. It was like putting activated carbon in, of course, because that's what ozone does. So I turned it off, and it's now on a timer, so it comes on for half an hour at 2 a.m. every day. So, but the first thing I noticed was that what was I going to say about the water clarity? I can't remember, but it went clear anyway after not much time at all.
Yeah.
Oh, that was what I was going to say. So I took a before and after photo from the exact same spot, like 24 hours apart. But I tried to load the photos together and split them, so one half of the tank so it looks like one photo, but one half is before, one half is after, and I couldn't see a difference in the photo. But you definitely.
I thought you were going to go, it's a massive difference.
No, and I took video clips as well. I was preparing to do because obviously I'm going to make a video at some point. But it looked on video, it looks the same. In person, it doesn't look the same. You definitely can tell the difference. So this is the main tank, and this without
the corals any different.
You can see them clearer.
No, but have you noticed any difference?
No, I mean it's only been 24 hours, but no. But I did take an end-on shot as well. So this is through 4 feet of water, and you can see the polyps, or the basing of this coral quite clearly. But again, that doesn't really mean anything, and that's an underexposed photo, so it needs a bit more brightness. So you can't really tell from this, but it definitely is clearer, even after one day. And what else? Oh yeah, and actually this is the bit I was going to say about cyano. So can I zoom in? There's this coral up here in the top left corner of my tank. I put this acro. It's a really nice one, but it's just based out. And it's based out to the point where it touches the water surface, so it can't go above that level. And weirdly, this tank is completely free of cyano, and I haven't had cyano in it for ages. I did have a spell for a couple of months, like 4 years ago. But there's this patch at the top of this coral where it meets the water. There's like a line of, you can just about see it there. There's this line of, it's quite thick cyano right across the water line. So it's like the cyano can live perfectly happy in and out of water all day long, but the coral can't. And it's just this lump of stuff. And I think a couple of weeks ago, I noticed it and I scraped it all off, and now it's back. But I'm wondering if, because apparently ozone will help with that. So I'm wondering if ozone will get rid of that. So I'll wait to see if that happens.
It must have no flow there, I assume.
I was looking at that today, trying to work out why it grows there, because flow is a big thing, and it's in the corner of the tank, and the corners of the tank are the still areas, but the water's moving. I mean, an acro, a hyacinthus acro is growing there. That likes a lot of flow and growing nicely. So I don't think it's that, but it's kind of water movement, rather like up and down, I guess, rather than side to side. But I don't know. But I'm wondering if that will get if the ozone will deal with that. We'll find out. But so far, it's like I've had it turned on for a day, and I've said this before. Like there's no point. Like if I say to you, "Oh, I put ozone on my tank and my water's clear," well, of course it is. Like that's not useful information, but it's still cool. I like it. It's it cost all in. It cost about 250 quid to set up, and you can do it cheaper than that. Most of that, 220 quid of that was the ozone generator. You can get one much cheaper, but it's really good.
I'll let you experiment with it for a month, and then if you're still happy, I'll consider it at the end.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I like it.
I just want to say something really quick, because this happens every single week. People see that I'm on the live stream and they start messaging me on Instagram. Yeah, I will not reply to you if you have a question. Because they start asking me questions.
Message you questions. Okay.
Yeah. They literally start messaging me, and so sometimes they might think that I will reply afterwards. I'm knackered after these. When you're talking for 2 hours, you're like mentally knackered. And I've had 3 people message me since this started. So in the nicest possible way, like if you have a question, the comment section is the best place to put it.
Yeah, indeed.
Because you definitely will not get a reply. After this, I'm going to go watch TV.
Yeah, zone out. And actually, the other thing I need to say about the ozone is that the thumbnail for this was universal adapter for all skimmers. Yeah. And this is, if you search, it's called Deltec Ozone T-piece or something like that. So if you Google Deltec Ozone T-piece, you'll find it. And it's glass, just a glass T. That's all. It'll always do it. And whilst it's universal because it's just an 8mm tube glass piece, so it will fit any skimmer. As long as the tube is roughly the right size. But not all skimmers are ozone safe. I think they need to be made of acrylic, or there's another material. Is it ABS? I can't remember. There are a couple of materials that are ozone resistant. Yeah. Not all skimmers are ozone resistant. And I don't even know if mine is. I'm pretty sure it is because the instruction manual talks about ozone.
What does it do to the skimmer?
It just degrades it. It breaks down the plastic. So, and the other thing, so I don't think that if I would still put it on, I think, this skimmer if it was not ozone resistant, because I have it on for half an hour a day at a low dose.
Yeah.
And I think really if you had it on 24/7, then you'd probably be asking for trouble.
Yeah.
But I feel like at that smaller dose, it's highly unlikely that it would break down my skimmer, even if it's not ozone resistant. I'm sure it will over time.
But when you say degrade it, does it like crack it? Does it stop the pump from working? Does it?
I think it's just it just breaks down the plastic. It like just.
Will it literally make a hole? Do you see why I've heard this loads of times, but I've never actually seen any example of ozone doing anything to a skimmer. And I just wonder if it's one of those things where people say it rather than it actually being factually correct. I'm genuinely asking out of intrigue.
I'm telling you what I've heard, so I don't know because I've never seen it, of course. So, but I would imagine it just. I don't know. The thing it would. I'm guessing it would take ages.
Yeah,
because plastic is pretty hardy.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, whatever. The point I'm making is, go and if you're not sure if your skimmer is ozone resistant, contact the manufacturer and ask.
Yeah,
that's the easiest way to do it. And that was the only thing I wanted to say. But I think mine is. But we'll find out. But I also because
one day you go look at the tank and there's just no skimmer there.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like some bolts from the pump.
Yeah. But so I've got it on a very low dose for half an hour a day now because I just want to start slow and build up. Because what's the point of going bigger than that?
Yeah.
And the water is very clear, but it's not like, oh my god, that's incredible clear. I've seen it that clear before, but it's not like absolutely blow my socks off clear. Yeah. So I wonder if I might need to turn it up and run it for an hour or 2 hours or whatever. But whatever, that it might just be that it needs a cumulative effect of day after day. Yeah, but I'm going to leave it. I'm going to go away. I'll take ages. I'll take a long time before I actually crank it up. But it's good, and it's the sort of thing that, and it's actually so. In fact, my missus, I didn't tell her that I'd installed an ozone generator because she's not going to care. But oh, hello, darling. But she said she noticed without me telling her, without me prompting. She said she noticed the water was clear, and that's a really good indicator, basically.
It's a really good indicator of a good wife because she was looking at your tank.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so that's my ozone use, and so far it's 250 quid. Is actually quite easy to set up once you know how. And when I was going to make a really quick video today for the Reef Dork Extra channel, just to say, look, this is my setup. I've never done this before. This is not an expert guide. I'm just showing you how I've done it. Go and do your research elsewhere. But this is how I've done it. Yeah. But I'm gonna leave that. But I will do a setup guide at some point.
Yeah,
because it's actually really easy. And if in 6 months' time there's no side effects, because I'm not going to put it on 24 hours a day or whatever. I'm not using an ORP controller, which a lot of people say you should do, but that's because it's only going to be on for half an hour a day, so I don't feel like that's an issue. But maybe I'm playing with fire. But if in 6 months' time I've had no real side effects and it's just good, I will struggle to see how anybody wouldn't want an ozone generator, because 250 quid to make your water crystal clear 100% of the time.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Absolute no-brainer. So it's the sort of thing that I think it's far too early to say this, but I kind of think to myself now, if it's that good, I'll never run a tank without ozone.
Yeah.
But there's lots. This is day one.
Yeah, but you, a very influential person, has just said that. So now everyone is going to go and buy one.
Which is why I've put the caveats in. Yeah. But this is like going on a first date with someone and going, oh, they're the most amazing person you've ever met in your life. Oh, I'm going to marry them.
You know someone that does that, don't you?
I do, actually, very well. And then a week later, you're like, oh, actually, no, you know what? Not so much, but yeah. So anyway. That's all I got to say on that.
You just said the first person say you should use an ORP controller. I knew this was coming.
Yeah. But the
thing,
so
I'm intrigued. Why is it like? I actually don't know why you need.
Why?
Yeah.
Explain it in the because you can't use long comments in the chat.
Yeah.
But tell us why. I don't think it's going to be dangerous to me. I think it's, and this is the trouble, right? And there are no facts on this section of the show, and especially given I don't know
any.
Any
section
part
of
of
the
it.
show.
I don't know squat about ozone. I've been using it for 3 days or 2 days or something.
Yeah.
But it's the sort of thing that I do wonder if people get nervous about, because you hear it can blind you, and you hear,
Really?
oh, it can wipe out your tank. Yeah, ozone, ozone is poisonous to people if it's in big enough quantities, and you
Yeah.
know, it can be a problem. So I wonder if it's the sort of thing that, because that's the sort of thing that puts me off in the past, and I do wonder if all these things that people say are theoretically true, but actually the reality is it's not like that at all. And like, I spoke to someone the other day on Saturday who, he's a customer of yours actually, and I was selling him corals. So stealing your business.
Not sure how I feel about that.
I know, but he was saying that he runs ozone, and he doesn't put it through his skimmer. He just puts it through an air stone. So he's just got an ozone generator going into an air stone. That's it. No ORP controller. I know. Again, I'm not advocating that. I'm not suggesting you should do it, but I found it interesting. I was like, okay.
The thing I find most interesting,
And he's been doing it for a year.
Well, he's an expert then. There you go.
I'm not a doctor, but he is still alive.
Is it Jamie?
No.
Oh, I don't know who it is then. But
I'll tell you later.
The thing I find most interesting is you said you were put off before because it's obviously potentially dangerous or toxic or whatever you said a minute ago. Yeah. Well, the only difference between before and now is you got married. So why all of a sudden do you want to have toxic substances in your house?
Yeah, it's very true. I think it's one of the. I just don't think it is. And when you talk the sensible people who really know their stuff and have been using it for years, they say, look, theoretically, yes, it's dangerous. In the same way that a Zoa can kill you.
Yeah.
But in reality, in the doses that we use in our reef tanks, forget it. It's fine. And so it doesn't concern me. I've got way past that, and I've discovered ozone years ago, so I've gone through a long process of weighing up the risks and all this, and now it's just like it's fine. But the whole airstone thing, I was interested because it did make, because I don't have a skimmer on either of these tanks, and the Cade is going to stay up for a long time.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, I could put an airstone in that. Not planning on doing that, but I just found it interesting. When sometimes people like, I find it one of the things I like about selling corals is that you often chat to people and they do things differently to you, and sometimes people say something and you're like, yeah, I don't fancy doing it that way. But other times people say something like this and it just makes you go, that's interesting. And he's been doing it for a year.
Yeah.
So, and these are the things, like, no, I wouldn't say that on YouTube. I wouldn't make a video advising you to do that. And you don't see people talking about it publicly, but people behind closed doors, a lot of the time, it's like you get just normal people like, mate, it's fine. But anyway, I'm not.
And normal people know best.
Yeah, exactly. I've texted you the name of.
I know. I saw.
Yeah, you know him.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah.
Maniac. Absolute maniac. No, I'm just joking.
Where's the guy who was asking about, who's saying use an ORP controller? Has he explained? I can't. I've lost it now.
Someone has specifically written, "Don't use an airstone."
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I'm not saying do it, but anyway, I can't see that. But whatever. Look, so I'm very early on. This is not an expert guide, and the whole point of this. So the thing I like about this podcast, if you watch the other ones, like Frag Garage, he gets interesting guests on who know the science and have been in the hobby for years. Really interesting. Reef Dudes, he had one this week with Aaron Duss, I think his name is. I think they talked about ozone, actually. Really interesting, and they talk about it from a science perspective. He gets Lou Eckes on. All that, they're really interesting.
Where is this going? When you're it's always really interesting people, and you're now about to go, and I get you on, Ryan.
I'm not talking about my guest. This is just two dickheads down the pub who haven't realised they've left their microphone on. So it's just a chat. It doesn't mean anything, and that's my intention anyway. I'm sure some people will go and turn on an airstone generator and then blind their family now. But that's the point I'm making.
We really did leave the microphone on with a comment like that.
I know, yeah. But anyway, fine. So that's that. And the other thing I've done this week is magnesium. So I bought my magnesium has dropped again down to 1170 on my main tank. So I decided that I've been trying to maintain it with the dosing, my 2-part dosing, and I got to the point where I was dosing twice as much part B as part A.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't doing it, and even my calcium was a bit low as well. But anyway, so now I'm going to dose magnesium separately. So I'll still use my 2-part for calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium, but I'll run magnesium separately. And I bought those crystals from Intralabs on eBay. That's dirt cheap, basically. And I worked out how to get it from 1170. There's a calculator on Ultimate Reef to get it from 1170 to 1350.
Yeah.
And you had to use half a kilo.
You have to use loads, don't you?
600 grams of this stuff, and
Yeah.
you can mix it in. You can mix in as much or as little as you want. I put it in a liter of water, and it will dissolve fine.
Yeah.
Because I've been dosing before that. I had a bottle of Red Sea stuff, and I've been dosing 200 milliliters a day.
Yeah.
And it hasn't moved the needle.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
And when you look at the description, it says how much it increases by. It'll say like you had. I know I'm playing with numbers, but it'll be like you had 50 milliliters, and that will increase the magnesium by 1 part per million. And you're like,
yeah,
what?
it's like one. Because I looked at it the other day actually for some reason, but it's like 1 mil per 100 liters will increase it by 1 point of magnesium, and obviously magnesium you want to increase it by like 50 or something.
Yeah. So you need a lot, and 200 milliliters is not doing anything. But when I started my super concentrated mix, it did bump it up.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that will do it good. But what
are you increasing it?
So most of the guides I read said don't do it more than 50 or 100 parts per million per day.
Yeah.
And my plan is to be if it goes up 100 parts per million in a week, I'm good with that. But I'm not trying. The only thing I wouldn't like pour it all in and go bang done.
Yeah.
But I'm not, and there's no point in. It might be actually that you can increase it more than 100 parts per million a day, and it'll be fine. But what's the point of? I don't want to find out. And if sensible people are saying 50 parts per million per day, I'll do that.
That's what I've always known it as. 50 is the highest you want to increase it in a day. But again, I just read that somewhere.
Yeah.
So who knows if it's right?
This is not a problem I need to fix today. So if it takes me a month to get it up 30 parts per million, that might be a bit frustrating, but if it takes me a month to get up 200 parts per million, fine. It's not a problem. My corals aren't going to perish suddenly. So, and the only other thing I was going to ask is that, so you use that same, the magnesium crystals, magnesium chloride hexahydrate.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
From Intralabs.
Correct.
What ratio do you mix? Like how many grams per liter do you mix?
No,
you don't know.
Remember, I have a like 140 liter barrel full of it. And in fact, I don't think I've ever, because I use so little magnesium, and because the water changes maintain some of it, I don't think I've ever refilled that in 4 years. Like the calcium one and the alkalinity one I have to fill relatively regularly, but the magnesium one is so I do it like hardly ever. I may have done it once in 4 years, or is it 3 years? Maybe 3 years.
Okay.
So, but obviously the salt is doing some of it every water change, but magnesium doesn't change that much.
No, this is true. But you can work out. So you can use a calculator, and you can actually, if you get those crystals, you can decide what level you want it to be, how intense you want this magnesium stuff to be. I'm sure there's a saturation limit, but there we go. What else was? Oh yeah, and there was EIY Kumar asked what ratio are you using for mixing magnesium chloride with magnesium sulfate. I did read one, the Ultimate Reef calculator, that said that you need to mix magnesium chloride and magnesium sulfate, and I'm not doing that. So I'm just using chloride. You're the same, I take it.
Yeah.
Your corals look nice. That's good enough for me. But anyway, so there we go. Yeah, they do. They're lovely. I always say that. It's like the first time I went into your farm, bearing in mind this was back in the dark days when you had bad photos.
Yeah. Feel like it looks way better than the photos.
I was blown away. It looked amazing. I was like,
was that true?
Awesome. Oh yeah, I've told you that before.
No, you probably did, but it's more like like I don't feel anything when I walk in there anymore because I see it every day.
Every day, don't you? Yeah.
And it's the same for some of the customers that come. So the customers that come the first time are like, "Wow!" And then when they come repeatedly, it's like
I'm all ready to stage now.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I'm not interested in that. Excuse me. But there were a few corals that just really stood out. Everything was healthy and bright, and a few in particular. Well, like I told you before, the dragon fruit Cyphastra, you can see it across the room. It was like, I want So yeah, there are loads. There, your burning banana Stylociniella,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
looks amazing as well. What else stood out? That gold gonny,
yes, yeah.
that stands out. There are a few
Have
on
you
there
still
that were.
got the gold gonny? Because you had one, didn't you?
Yeah, it didn't like my salinity issues in my water box. It's
Oh,
still technically alive,
yeah,
but for probably about 4 months, you can see some color,
yeah.
like where the polyps are, but that's it. So it's still alive and it might recover, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
You should move it to one of the other tanks. The only reason I say that is because occasionally that will happen where I'll with one of a piece, and I'll go, okay, well, it's not whatever's happening is not right. So I then move it over to a different system just to see. And I've had a Gonny as well. It was growing like crazy. It was like really, really fast in the system. And then this was years ago, probably 2 years ago. It just stopped, and then it started to recede. Yeah. And then I moved it over to System 1, which is the SPS system. And 2 years later, it's like there was always a little bit there, but it's now actually growing back. And I'm like, what have you done for the last 2 years?
Well, so I do that sometimes, and I have either a short tentacle gonny or a Bernard, whatever it is. It was really nice. That was looking similarly sad. That I recently moved to my main tank because I found I had same time probably 6 months ago I put an Iron Man gonny that I got from you in my main tank, and that was looking knackered in my because it was. When I got it from you, it was fine for the record.
Yeah.
I managed to almost kill it, and it was looking knackered. I was like, so I moved it to my main tank, and now it looks amazing. It's grown really fast. It looks stunning. It's back to being awesome. So that helped. I moved another one across a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and it's not changed things. So sometimes it might work, it might not, but I don't have much space in the main tank for that sort of thing. So but but it might come back. It's funny because corals can be very finicky, but they can also be extraordinarily survivable. Like the fact that you've got something where you can see some color, but that's it. 2 years later, it's looking healthy and full and
all the little it's so old now that all the little ridges that had where the polyps were before are now covered in coralline algae, and then there were these two little ones that just didn't, and then now it's got like 5 or 6 of them have started growing. And this is within the last month, and this was literally probably 2 years ago that it basically just died. It's so odd because that was a piece that was growing so fast that I could frag it regularly, and then one day it just went, no, I'm not happy anymore, and I just could not work out why.
Funny. Wonder if it's bacteria.
Who knows?
Who knows? But yeah, I can't remember where I was going, but basically, but it's funny because actually that tank now, the water box is everything is almost spot on. There are a couple of corals. Actually, weirdly, when I changed over from calcwaster to 2-part dosing, one of my what's it called, a love blossom gonny, the green and red one, that's the polyps have shriveled, and if it stays like that for much longer, it'll start to recede. But I wonder if that's a different issue. I don't think it's actually connected to the switch from calcwaster, but I need to do something about that. I haven't tested that water for a few weeks, so magnesium is probably like 300 parts per million.
Yeah.
But that's basically my week in reefing.
There you go.
Which means, and I've got some news, but I'm gonna hold it back. I'm not quite ready yet.
Do I know this news?
You do, yes.
Okay.
I told some people yesterday as well. It slipped out. I was like,
If anyone wants to know this news, my PayPal is this, and
Which moves us on to then the member questions. And today we have one from JJS, who says, my water, and I think this is tap water, my water is around 30 TDS. I've had my current RODI unit for about 5 years. And while I have changed the sediment and carbon filter a couple of times, I haven't needed to change the DI resin or RO membrane. Is there any reason to change them if I'm still getting 0 TDS water out of them?
That doesn't make sense. Unless he changed them because after a period of time he felt he had to change them. The DI resin is usually the first thing that runs out, isn't it?
It might actually be that the membrane is doing all of the work on that. And what's coming out is 0. So actually the membrane, the resin, I would guess is spent by now.
Yeah.
But and actually there was a BRS video about this recently. So 30 TDS, by the way. I don't if you're watching now, tell us where you live. I'm guessing it's somewhere in the mountains in America, and I don't know why I think it's America, but I got that impression. It'll either be like, oh, it's because he's got a photo of him with Ryan from BRS. That's why. It'll either be somewhere in in the mountains in America, or it'll be somewhere in the Scottish Highlands if it's in the UK. I love that, and I wonder what the tap water is like to drink. But anyway,
probably less fluoride.
Yeah. My water is 330 parts per million.
Yeah, same as mine, roughly around that.
It's basically it's a solid, like it comes out of the tank, right? But yeah, so there was a video about this on BRS the other day. Just because it's 0 TDS doesn't mean there's nothing in it, and TDS is a measure of electrical conductivity, and not all stuff that gets through that you don't want to get through has an electrical charge. So not all stuff registers. So I would absolutely replace the DI resin for sure. And to be honest, I'd be tempted to replace everything after 5 years. But 30 TDS, that's so low that that filter is not having to do a lot of work. So
there are Maidenheads which sell their water that has higher than 30 TDS.
I asked once, I won't say which one, but I said, what's your, and my anyway, I won't say which one, but it's not the one I go to all the time. I asked what their TDS was because I was considering buying a load from them to set up a tank, I think. And they said, oh, well, it doesn't get we don't let it get any higher than 100. And they were like, sometimes it gets down to 20, and I was like, oh, okay, bye.
I am the one that I got it from originally. They're actually closed now. Apparently there was some sort of RO water scandal. But no, they're gone now. But I remember I went in there once and I tested it. And I was like, this is 40. You're selling me RO water, which is 40.
But that's the one thing actually with that. Some shops sell RO water, not RODI.
Yeah.
They sell RO, and that can be confusing because people say RO for as shorthand. So that people say RO. Sometimes I say RO and I mean RODI.
Yeah.
So that can be confusing, but they're not pretending it's anything else. To be fair, and if you're using
to be 40.
No,
it's meant to be like 5.
But they sell it for freshwater tanks as well, and that's I don't know anything about freshwater, but I'm pretty sure that's fine because you remineralize it anyway. But so there's a bit of people love to share what their TDS is. And I've noticed people sharing it. Put in the chat if you've got particularly low or particularly high TDS coming out of your tap. Tell us what it is in the chat. And the winner gets 10 points for the highest.
Send us some so we can taste it.
Yeah.
not sure that's a good idea to get water from random people.
Oh no, that's me. My TDS, Neto Montoya, TDS is 9 out of the tap. We might have a winner already.
Yeah, I was gonna say you'd be hard pressed to beat that.
275, nothing. As mine's higher than that. Easy. 40 TDS in Scotland. 13 out of the tap. That's mental. Lancashire. Wow, that's crazy. 70 down in Cornwall. Okay, interesting stuff. No one's really high yet. I wanted someone who was like 700. But there we go. Yeah, exactly. 375. That's the highest so far. But anyway, so that was the question. I think the proper answer is I think I would change them all anyway, just because.
Yeah.
But to be honest, if you just change the DI resin, that's probably enough if you want to be frugal. But I would every 5 years or so change them out. 450.
Yeah. I always forget Les lives in Bognor because he's. Oh yeah. I always think you live in like Southampton. How come I don't see you more often, Les? You're literally like half an hour away.
Bognor of the King.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. Ozone question. I have 2 ozone generators attached directly to a skimmer. 2. Wow. But finding that it is not affecting the ORP. Should I be using a pump to push air through the generator? You're asking the wrong person, I'm afraid. You might be asking in the chat, but I don't know anything about ORP. I don't know anything really about ozone. So,
or anything.
But no, I don't know anything about anything at all. But But yeah, there we go. So that was the members questions.
Yeah.
Which means we're now on to the Prestige Reef Fish of the Week, which I think is a fish we've had before.
Okay. Have we had just a normal fox face before?
Just a fox. You don't like fox face?
No, have we had? Well, look, I don't have to like the fish of the week.
Okay.
This is the Prestige Reef Fish of the Week that I don't like. No, actually, no. Fox face, to be fair, was my very, very first fish.
Really?
Yeah. And I got home and I turned the lights off and I put it into the tank and it had changed brown and white. And
I just need you to stop for a second.
Why? What happened?
857 parts per million.
Oh, I thought something came up on the screen that you didn't want people to see. I'm like, what have you been looking at, Alex?
Manoj Santosh has almost 1,000 PBS in Arizona. Wow.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't be drinking that.
No, 10 points to that man. Well done, you win. Sorry, Foxface.
Yes, so Foxface was my first fish. I actually got it kind of by accident. I was a young idiot 18-year-old and I wanted a lionfish. The lionfish had just sold. There was one there, but so they wouldn't sell it to me. And I went, well, have you got any other venomous fish? And they went, yes, we've got this way less cool yellow fish. I'm like, that will do.
Okay. So, I just noticed there's a character from Hunger Games apparently called Foxface. And when you Google Foxface, it comes up with this girl. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about. So you specifically wanted a venomous fish?
Yeah, that's what I wanted because I just thought it'd be cool to have. Now, what happened was I got the fish home, I put it in the tank, and the next morning I looked at it, and while it was still dark, and the fish was like white, yellow, brown, all this like mottled colored. So I called the fish up. I said, I think the fish is dying. And they went, no, that's what happens when at night they change color. Yeah. I'm like, how does no one tell me this? So the funny thing is, I was in a shop today and someone bought a fox face. And then when I was there, I said to them, did you know that they changed color? And the guy said, no. And I went, well, this is what will happen. So don't panic.
That's a really common post, not just foxface, loads of fish, because loads of fish do. People will get a fish, they're like for the first time or whatever, and they'll say, I've just bought this fish, I've got it back, and it looks like this. What's going on? Because it looks like it's, oh my God, he's gone. It looks like they're on the verge of death, doesn't it? So like first time, it's like, oh my God. Yeah. So I see that all the time.
I think with them, it's probably one of the most dramatic changes of like color. So at least I'm not an idiot then. Found out like other people have done this as well.
Absolutely. I'm anticipating your coral of the week, and when I've Googled it, it's come up with a fascination favia for some reason. And there's someone selling an incredibly rare 24K gold fascination favia on eBay. And if this is you, I apologize.
It sounds incredibly rare.
It's not rare.
It's not me. It's not me.
It's 250 quid. I mean, it's a small colony, but that's a lot of cash.
But it's incredibly. It's not just rare; it's incredibly
rare. It's so rare. I've got thousands of it. Thousands of it? Can you have thousands? Yeah.
Nothing's rare.
It's not. It's a nice coral, to be fair. But anyway,
yeah.
What's your coral of the week?
Well, this is going to be what was it called? Controversial. That's the one I was going for. Because people go, "Oh, it's not a coral." I'm going to go for Recordias. Because they are well cool. There are two main types that I know of, Yumas and Florida ones. The Yuma ones are the ones with the smaller ball, like the smaller like circles on them.
Nubbins, yeah. Which one's this? Because these are really, this stood out.
I believe they are Florida ones. Yeah, I think. Okay. I think it's to do with if they're uniform sized as well. So if you So if you go down, I think just start clicking a few random ones, and I'll be able to tell you. I think, those are Florida ones.
Okay, I bought a Recordia ages ago, years and years and years ago, and it died before my current main tank. So about 6 years ago, and it died, and I didn't ever try again.
Do you see where it says sponsored shop Recordias? Well, I think two of those, the top three are all Yumas.
Oh, okay.
No, so down. Yeah, those ones. Those three are all Yumas. So that's a bounce mushroom.
Oh yes. Oh, they're not as nice. The Florida ones.
So the Yumas aren't as nice. I found that Yumas are not as hardy either. But you don't really get Florida ones as like. I haven't seen wild Florida ones come in. I can't even remember the last time I saw. I'm not even sure you can still get them.
Stupid question.
Yeah.
Are they from Florida?
I assume so, but
I don't know.
But I don't know.
This is the one I had looked like this roughly.
Yeah, they're the nice
those
ones.
patterns. Yeah, but yeah, they're cool. They must be from Florida.
Yeah, they well, I assume so.
Gorda flora is a species of Pharmacordia. Very. Where's the habitats? Is found in the reefs, usually in shallow water, rocky areas and pools, Gulf of Mexico, Atlantic Ocean, Caribbean Sea.
So
is Florida in the Gulf of Mexico? I think it is.
Someone will know.
Don't
ask me.
Americans are going to be going now. Oh, you moron! You don't know that.
No. I saw on Jimmy Kimmel. They asked Americans, "Can you find this state?" And they could none of them. Like they would have selected the people that the worst of a bunch of people probably, and none of them could find some of the most basic states on there. Even some of them that I knew, they couldn't find.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Well, so the so on the east side of Florida is the Atlantic Ocean. On the west side is the Gulf of Mexico. So it is.
There you go.
There you go. Yes, it is. Fact. Oh, and there we go. Yeah, and confirmation.
See, we get to learn stuff too, don't we?
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so that is the fish of the week and the coral of the week.
Yeah.
Anything? Do you want to tell us anything about Florida Recordies? You tell us a few things, ready to be there.
No, not particularly. I know Jay's waiting for the news. He commented, said, "Have I missed the news yet?"
Oh, you have not. It's now. Jay, what Jay's Real Reef, Jay?
Yes.
No, you've not missed it. I can't find that. Oh, 32 TDS update in South Wales. I didn't see anything higher than 857, and I didn't see anything lower than 9. So I think those are our winners. 10 points each. Congratulations.
Oh, look, Riggsy thinks he's so smart. Do you think you don't think you're the first person to say something?
Wee, sleigh bells.
I preempted what people would say, and I was the one who actually said that.
Ryan's sensitive, right?
No, I'm not sensitive. So only when you tell me it wasn't clean enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so news then. Actually, first thing I'm going to talk about in the news is the thing I was going to talk about last. Sodium hydroxide, which is Calquas's spicier brother, calcium hydroxide spicier brother, has been in the news this week in the UK. So if you're based outside of the UK, almost certainly won't have seen this, but it's big news here. There was a guy he did an attack. He attacked some people using. It was either the news says he was either using sodium hydroxide or sodium carbonate. Both were found in his flat, and he attacked people with this. And there's a picture. So I think from the looks of it, he got some in his eyes. Well, so this is what he looks like. This is the suspect, by the way.
Oh, so he got him too. So I didn't follow this.
The news says that I've been following this quite closely. It's a big story, but the news says they don't know how that happened to him, and he might just have been punched or kicked in the eye or something. I don't know, but I wonder if that was the corrosive substance. But it's been in the news, and the reason I mention it is because people were attacked with it, and they were in a really, really bad state. Because it's really serious stuff, sodium hydroxide, and it was just an interesting reminder that some of the chemicals that we play with in our fish tanks really are no joke. They're really, really serious, and we should be careful. And I mean, it's easy to get blasé if you use stuff all the time, and sometimes BRS talked ages ago. I remember Randy, even when Randy was doing it, he talked about sodium hydroxide, and he was like, I don't think I'd want it in my house with my kids around, and that's what it does. It's really, really nasty.
What does it get used for? Because I don't even know what it gets used for.
Increasing pH in reef tanks. I don't know. It's probably that sort of thing is often used for cleaning, isn't it? So like if you can use Harpic 10X to clean metal, it'll clean rust off metal, that sort of stuff. So it's probably some kind of commercial cleaning agent. I don't even know what the applications are for it. There's probably loads, but nasty stuff, and it's been in the news. And that guy's still at large. He's been on the run. So with a bit of luck,
I mean, he's pretty noticeable. It's not like he can blend in. He's got this massive problem with his eye.
Yeah, and it's all over the news. So
Yeah.
you know, unless you've been living under a rock like Ryan has.
No, I did see it. I don't particularly like following the news because it's never good.
Depressing.
It just puts bad things in your head. But I did notice it. I think it was a family, wasn't it? Or there was like a little girl involved, I think, wasn't there?
Yeah.
But, I'm surprised he hasn't been caught.
Me too. There's a £20,000 reward.
Yeah.
Maybe not that that's relevant.
There's a £20,000 reward. I'm going to follow. That's why you're following it closely, aren't you?
Yeah. That was out today. But no, news is always depressing. There's so much news about wars at the moment, of course, with like Gaza and Ukraine. Gaza in particular is just so depressing at the moment. I'm trying not to follow it, but it's just like, it's just awful. The whole situation.
There's a fine line between being educated enough to talk to people about the news and actually so I can talk about some of these things, if you see what I mean, but I don't want to like where you could just gloss over it. But on a day-to-day basis, I'm not interested because you're right. There's nothing good, which means that all I'm doing is poisoning my mind and filling it with like negativity. Why would I want to do that?
It's just but best
humans weren't designed to be able to know every second of every day what everyone is doing across the entire world.
And so this is how news should be. It's once a week.
Yes, yeah.
And it's simple. And one thing I don't like about news at the moment is like there'll be a news announcement. It's like this just in. We've just heard this. No information whatsoever. And it's just like they just give you a headline. It's like, well, just tell me in an hour's time when you actually know what's happened, or a day's time. Anyway, whatever. That is not what we're talking about today. The news, anyway, news. Triton set up a tank that had this enormous clam.
Not really.
Do you remember?
Maybe.
You'll know it when you see it. It's this tank. Remember that?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
really famous tank, and they use these lights. I think they're Triton lights, Lani, Lani. And this. I've seen a few videos of the clam. That's the clam there. I don't know what type of clam it is, but it when it closes, it sprays water, like liters of water onto the lights and out of the tank. That was one of the first tanks that for me that's like Steve Wiest level of amazing. And they're setting up a new one. They're doing Triton Reef 2.0, and it's going to be a Great Barrier Reef biotope. It's big.
You wait till they get diatoms and then regret it.
Exactly. Yeah, they won't leave it for 3 months before they do anything about it. Though.
Yeah,
burn. It's 2.5 meters wide.
It's tonight.
1.2 meters front to back, I presume, and just over 65 centimeters, so just over 2 feet tall. So it's a big old tank. And it's going to be awesome because they obviously know how to run a tank. And I mean, it's Triton. You know, if anyone knows about the science behind the hobby, it's Triton. And they've got an incentive to make it awesome because it's an advert for their business. So that will be wicked. And I'm really looking forward to following that along and seeing how it goes.
Yeah.
So watch out for that. They'll probably be on Facebook, and Reef Builders will update it as they go, I'm sure. So interesting news that was. That was the first thing. Or the next thing, you're going to love this, Ryan.
I bet. You normally say it when I'm not going to love it. So
because it's your
be some sort of like Wi-Fi skimmer or like contactless. I know. Tank lid.
Wi-Fi algae magnet.
Yes,
that's what we need. No, it's the reason you're gonna especially love it this week. Because it combines your two favorite things.
Okay.
LED lights and nano tanks.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
So there's a new LED light called the Orbit Marine Nano. Well, that's the Facebook page. I'll come on to that. The Orbit Marine Nano LED. It looks. I didn't see the measurements, but it looks about 6 inches long and a few inches wide. And the reason that this is actually noteworthy is because it's $60, 7 inches long, 3.5 inches wide, $60, and it's 16 watts, which is actually, they say it's for up to 25 gallons, and the Cade is 25 gallons. I don't think I'd want it on the Cade, to be honest, but certainly anything like a Fluval Evo, spot on. absolutely perfect for that kind
Yeah.
of tank. And $60, if it's any good, which it might be terrible, I don't know, but
Yeah.
if it's any good, that's brilliant, because that's a proper genuine option for nano tanks. So we'll see how it is. The only thing that I was really interested in, I know you'll be loving this, is the controller. So it's got 3 buttons, a blue channel, a white channel, and then a mode.
Yeah.
And I wonder how programmable it is, because you if it's just on off, which I don't think it is, but if it's just on off, that's pretty useless. You want it to be able to ramp up and ramp down and change it so it's blue in the evening and white during the day or whatever. But if it does all that sort of stuff,
well, it says dimmable. So
dimmable, yes, it does, yeah. But I don't know how controllable.
It's even got cloud cover, so it probably is
cloud cover. Storm.
Yeah.
Moonlight. I hate all that sort of stuff, but anyway, whatever. People
I wonder if there's a single person in the world that actually uses the storm setting. The original storm setting was like a disco. It was like all different colored lights.
Yeah, there was a disco mode on the Gen 4 versions, I think.
Yeah. And I just wonder, like, who would put that on? It would, like, the fish would freak out.
Yeah.
I used to go to a nightclub that had a fish tank in it. I used to look at them being like, you're the saddest fish I've ever, like, I feel so sorry for you, because every night it would just be like being blasted with noise and people and drunk people tapping on it. It's like, it would be insane.
Because fish feel vibrations, don't you, through their bodies. So that, and people, I remember there was a fish tank on Tanked where they put it under a speaker or next to a big speaker or something, and I was like, oh god, that must be torture. So being in a nightclub,
the fish
for hours on it, exactly, rocking in a corner.
What I actually found interesting is, and when I say found interesting, if I was in a nightclub, this would have been a long time ago, and secondly, I would have been drunk. So I don't know how interesting this actually is when I'm sober, but the fish weren't hiding. It's like they'd been there so long and had been like traumatized so badly, they didn't care about the music or the flashing lights or anything.
They were just used to it.
Yeah,
interesting. But anyway, it looks like it's only available in the US at the moment. I presume it's from China because most of that technology is. So maybe it'll come over here. But I don't know anything about it. And again, no facts. This is current USA. Yeah, it'll be a rebadged Chinese light though. Again, that's not a statement. Yeah, it's just I'm just saying. Right. Just a conversation between 2 dickheads who've left the microphone on. But so no facts. If you want to go and find out information about it, go and look up yourself. Not a fact. No facts here. But current USA. So it's a US company from the sounds of it. I think that's a fair assumption. Looks good. Looks like a nice option. And Ryan's happy because it's small tanks.
Because this section is over.
And actually, so there are a couple of comments on the Facebook page. So I posted this as news on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
And one person said, for that price, you could buy multiple lights for larger tanks. I don't think I'd want many of them. Because for a start, you'd have lots of plugs. And it would look a bit messy. So I'm not sure I'd use it for a large tank. But most people were pretty keen on that, because it seemed like a decent option for small tanks. But one person posted this, and this, what does that look like to you?
It looks like what? It looks like a Radion.
It looks a lot like a Radion.
And then I saw the price. I'm like, that can't be a Radion.
160 pounds, less than $200.
Yeah.
And it's called an A8SE 215 watt Wi-Fi. That looks a lot like, that's a complete rip-off, isn't it? This is from AliExpress, apparently.
Don't you worry, Telegram will have the answer for you probably soon enough. I like how even the little bracket thing on it is the same.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that bit there, yeah.
That's a bit cheeky, isn't it? That's a bit of a close copy, but fair enough. Anyway, and actually, there wasn't much else in the news today. I did see there was something about handfish in Australia. I might as well tell you about it now because we're
What's
here.
a handfish? Because you said this a minute ago. I've never heard of one.
That's why I mentioned it, because it was in my. You won't see them in the hobby, but a handfish is this bad boy. So they actually walk along and like grip on. And that's a better photo there. Actually, they walk along the seabed and they grip onto stuff. And it's this particular one here. This is look at his little hand there grabbing onto the algae or whatever.
Oh yeah,
hilarious.
Like frogfish.
A lot like frogfish. As ugly as frogfish, but they're cool. And I think they don't have swim bladders. Again, no facts. But they kind of like float around and look a bit weird. But there's I think there's like 100 left in Tasmania or something like that. And so scientists have collected a load to try to critically endangered. It's all over. Actually, it's all over these articles. There's about 100 left in the wild, and scientists have collected about 20 in the hope that they can keep them and bring them back, or avoid them going extinct, basically. But I feel like, so this was on Ultramarine website, and I feel like there was an article on the Handfish, maybe that it was discovered even recently, but I can't remember where I saw it. Maybe it was the Reef Builders page or something. But yeah, there's where are we? Only about 100 are left in the wild.
Why though? Does it say?
Warming seas, human-caused habitat changes, and ravenous urchins. So the urchins must eat their algae that they live in, I guess.
So then they just float off because they've got nothing to hold on to.
And then they just get eaten. But I love it when because people are generally pretty bad for the planet, right? Humans are terrible for the planet, but I love it when, like, this tiny little insignificant fish, it's like 8 centimeters, 3 inches long, less than that. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. Like,
well, don't say that.
No, but no,
you never know what matters apparently in this world.
This is very true, but like, it's not like an iconic animal like dolphins, for example. No one's ever heard of a handfish, but humans are spending effort and money to make sure this survives. I love that, because it does matter. It does matter. And the fact that, humans have caused that. So the fact that we're doing something about it, I've not got anything to do with this, but I love that. I like it when people do that, because it's just nice.
Do you know what would have been a better idea?
What?
Because they've just taken if they're taking a load out, and there's only 100, it's a significant portion of the population. What they should have done is put fake algae in, because they're obviously not eating the algae. So fake algae might work.
It's true.
There's probably a reason that they couldn't do that, but or take out the urchins.
That's a brilliant idea, Ryan. And do you know what? We need someone like you in the world of reef science.
What can I say? Urchins caused a massive problem in the kelp forest somewhere,
because they eat the bottom. Don't they?
Only eat the bottom, don't they? Yeah. So and the reason that the reason the urchins were so like overpopulated was because of the overfishing of the lobsters, which ate the urchins.
Oh, it was lobsters. So I've seen similar issues when otters, the otter population diminishes, because otters eat urchins, and then urchins take over, and that's the same thing. It's funny, but the food chain is just, but there you go. So I wasn't going to do that bit of the news, but I have, because it was pretty slim pickings. But that is the end of the news. And you were right. Last week I did press the news button twice.
Oh yeah.
I bought a new mouse. So the last one was
How do you even remember that?
I remember.
You just at night you're just worried. You're like, oh, I must remember to tell him. Yeah, I did press it twice by accident.
I don't remember important things, but I remember little things like that. I bought a new mouse, and this is you'll love this, right?
I doubt it.
Hilarious. So because I used my last mouse. It was quite a loud click, and when I listen, you don't notice it on the live stream, but when I listen to the podcast, you can just hear this little tick 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 tick. Yeah. So I bought a mouse with a silent click, so you can't hear it.
It's so unsatisfying.
It is actually really, because it's so quiet.
Yeah.
You can't, and it doesn't have that haptic feedback either. So you can't really. Sometimes I click twice, like I did last week.
So you made the sound problem way worse when it played twice than the clicking.
But I'll get used to it.
Yeah.
But just so that's the level of gear junkie I am. And that's like the polar opposite of you. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But what I've done is I've said, I posted in the chat a minute ago today, because we finished half an hour early. I say half an hour early. There's no real time limit on this. It's just whatever. But I did post in the chat, post any questions you have now, because 10 or 15 minutes before 2 hours is one thing. Half an hour that's ridiculous. I would feel like I'm letting you guys down, because who wants?
I'm like, half day. We feel very differently.
This is true. So we're going to deal with some chats. Oh, and O2 Uber uses cloud setting on his Red Seas.
Not cloud setting. I was talking about lightning setting.
Oh, the lightning, right? Okay.
Yeah, because cloud is I probably have. I think I've got the moon setting on, and I think I've got the cloud setting on the farm, but I don't have. I don't have the lightning, because, like, why does someone want to terrorize their fish occasionally?
Yeah, and do the fish look at that and go, "Oh, it's lightning"?
Yeah, they don't do anything, and it's not even that's satisfying for us to watch.
No,
It's like
it's kind of cool.
No, it's not. It just looks like your lights aren't plugged in properly, so they're just flashing.
Maybe it's kind of cool. The first someone showed me, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." I'd never use it, but anyway, whatever. It is. It's obviously a gimmick, I think, and there are loads of things like that we think of. Like people always say, like, "Oh, we're trying to recreate the ocean." And you kind of are, but you kind of not. And that's one of the things that it's like that's just surely that's just for you to go to your family. Hey, look, lightning.
Yeah. Well, not for me.
But anyway, yeah, very gimmicky. We've got chats, we've got questions in the chat then. So Ryan Washington says, is a 7-stage RODI worth it? What are the 7 stages? I think that the stages that I have 2 membranes, 1 because it makes water quicker, 2 because it reduces the amount of wastewater. I then have 1 sediment filter. Ideally, I'd like 2. I then have 2 carbon blocks, and then I have 2 DI resins. So what's that? Membranes, sediment. So I've got 7 stages, but I think if you buy a 7-stage filter, it won't have that stage. I think really you just need 1 of everything: membrane, sediment, carbon, DI. And if you can double them up, so have 2 of each, then better.
They last longer.
Yeah, exactly, and it reduces. It will produce water quicker and reduce. But if you're just going to buy a normal RDI system, a booster pump is the best thing for it.
Yes,
that massively increases efficiency, and it means that you don't have to wait 3 hours to make half a liter of water.
True.
So, and they can get quite expensive, RDI systems. But if I just get a standard, I don't know how many stages, 5 stages or something like that, with a booster pump would be what I'd go for. Algae eating fish for a small nano. Is there such a thing? Urchin.
Yeah, urchin.
Which is not a fish.
People say things like algae blennies, but they don't have a great survival rate, I don't think, especially in small tanks.
And they're not really like they're not going to be eating hair algae.
No, they eat like
sort of. They scrape it off. They're like a coal tag, and they do that.
Filament algae, I think, is the
filament. Maybe, yeah. So I don't think there is such a thing. Buy a tang and just post it on Facebook and be like, "Yeah, I got a tang in my 10 gallon." Yeah,
that will go down very well. I've seen it go down very. What I've noticed is those posts are always at the top, and there's always those people commenting on them, so they must be doing well.
Yeah. But no, I'd go for, to be honest.
Yeah.
If you can only have if you can have a skimmer or a roller mat, but not both, which would you have? Well, you would have a skimmer.
Yeah.
I think I probably would as well. But on these 2 tanks up here, my Cade and my water box, I only have a roller mat. But the reason for that, one's a Clarity, one's the Reef Factory. The reason for that is because I want it to be quiet.
Yeah.
If I didn't care about sound, I'd have a skimmer. But I like having both. And even now I'm using Ozone, I will still use a roller mat because it does do other things that I want. And I both are great, but a skimmer is probably better in inverted commas.
Yeah.
But they do both have different purposes. But I'd probably go for a skimmer. But on these 2, I've got a roller mat, no skimmer. Best place to buy an anemone, Ryan? Do you know anywhere? You haven't got anemones on your website, have you?
No, I only sell them to very, very select, special people. They're just the problem that I have with them. When I say special, that was an exaggeration because you're not that special. But
actually, my mum says I am, so you know.
Well, I'm sure she does. To get the anemones off, I have to get a little credit card and scrape them, but get under the foot. And I just think
takes 5 seconds, does it? Yeah, God.
No, it's not that. I'm more worried about. This is how much I care about my customers. Yeah, I'm more worried about damaging it because you put it in the bag, ship it over to someone. The foot's damaged. They put it in their tank, and then it dies. So it's like a higher risk, and I just think it's not worth that for me. Whereas you collected it, didn't you? I have shipped 1 anemone, just 1, and I specifically said to the guy, "Look, I will only know if I can get this for you on the day while I'm packing, and if it's in a good position, great. If it's not in a good position, I have I won't be able to get it off for you." And he said that's fine, and it just so happened it was in a good position, and then I put it in the box, and it's fine for him. So I am considering it, but I just not sure at the moment. So
the place to get them then is your local fish shop. So Reefkeeper
Yeah.
Moss End, if you're anywhere near me, which you're probably not, they have some. But most local fish shops will have them. So I thought I could hear. Was there a noise in the background somewhere?
It's not your mouse clicking, is it?
Certainly is not. It sounded like an Alexa talking. But
don't do that. Oh, what is Alexa? Order corals from Prestige Reef. Just any of them.
Yeah. Ba-ding, 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 ba-ding.
Yeah. Yeah. My Alexa just went off. She went, I don't know that website or something. She said something, I don't know something.
I hate it when you ask her a really simple question. She's like, I don't know that. It's like I'd swear at her. Which probably makes me a bad person.
Yeah, people are saying their Alexas just went off.
Yeah. Alex, do you use a CO2 scrubber? I think I mentioned this last week. I can't remember now. No, I don't. I did try one. I just found it a pain in the backside because it chewed through the media really quickly, unless you do it recirculating, which I couldn't be bothered to. Chewed through the media really quickly. I found that it's color change media, so you can see when to change it. But the color is really subtle. So my cabinet was relatively dark. So I had to be like this, like, oh, is that changed? Is that the right color? And I could never see it really clearly. It was just, and it was very effective. So it went from, my pH went from like 7 to like 35.
YouTube is not ready for that close up of your face.
Yeah.
Your camera like freaked out.
But no, so I found it didn't go, like it spiked to about 8.7 or something on my pH, and I was like, oh wow. And then I had to change so it was just they're not for me. They're good and they do the job, but I didn't like it. And Calquas is better in my opinion, but there's plenty of people who use them and they are very effective. So ask someone who likes them, because they'll give you a more positive response. You've never used a CO2 scrubber, presumably?
No.
pH is not really your thing, is it?
No.
My Alexa just went off.
Yeah, I know.
And kitten news. James is getting a kitten next weekend. Not so worried about the tank at the moment, seeing as it's tiny. But any tips for cat proofing the tank when it gets bigger? Already have a lid.
You definitely need to do that. One of my customers sent me a picture of a very wet cat because the cat jumped and it went straight in the tank. So it's and you need to have a lid that's strong enough to actually support the cat as well, because a normal lid won't support them. I think they had to get like a special cat lid made.
I'm sure I've seen a special cat lid.
Yeah, it's got like big holes in it rather than like the little ones.
Yeah, the only issue I've ever had with, so my cat's generally not interested in the tank, but I did come down one day to find this happening. It's just having a quick
drinking. I was like, what is it doing?
Just drinking the salt water. That must be disgusting. And he was proper going for it as well.
Is that like a GIF, or is that?
No, this is an ongoing video.
Just properly just going for it.
There's a 17-second video of the, and that was, and I, obviously was drinking before I turned the video on. So I don't know, maybe he had some problem with him or something. But
clearly,
my cat he never pays any attention to the tank. Even I can hold him next to the tank, he's like, whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't
whose
know.
Cat was that?
That was my water box to the left. That was before.
Whose cat was it?
Cat. That was my cat.
Oh, so basically, you know how if you're on a desert island, you can speed up your demise by drinking the salt water. He's fed up of being captive by you. Captive. He's trying to get out.
My cat has the best life ever. Still using calc. Yes, I am. I'm not using calc on these two tanks, the water box and the Cade, but I am still using it on my main tank. And I'm actually wondering because I was planning on moving over to Reef Sediments pH Plus, which I have done on these. I was planning on doing that for my main tank, but I'm now starting to think maybe I'll stick with calc on my main tank, because it's been calc and 2-part has been good for me. So why change it? I might still change it. I don't know. But yeah, I'm still using it. Been using it for maybe 18 months now. Did the ATO kick in? Probably wasn't far off, to be fair.
Yeah.
Waterbox LX. You have this 270. Any tips on locating a Waterbox LX 270? I've got a 45XL at the moment, so a big crease in volume. I mean,
locating what? As in where to buy one?
Where would you put the tank? I think he means.
Well, wherever you can fit it with a strong enough floor.
Yeah.
People ask me this question all the time. Not that one, but they'll ask me a question, and I go, well, how can I possibly answer that question for you? Because I have no idea what your house is like. People go, what coral should I buy? I'm like, What would you? I have probably hundreds. What would you? Where do I start?
Yeah. So I get I get asked what fish should I buy all the time, less more so than corals.
Yeah.
And it's always like it's such a difficult question to ask because it's
Yeah.
like someone coming up to you going, "I'm looking for some clothes. What would you recommend?"
Yeah.
And it's
When
like
someone says to me what fish I buy, I go lionfish, and they go, "No, I don't want a lionfish." I go, well, "Why did you ask me then?"
so
Because
I'm more constructive than that.
so,
But
yeah,
I tend to I point people towards live aquaria because when I don't do it so much now, but certainly in the past, when I was looking for inspiration for fish, I'd go on live aquaria, go through all the filters, set it so it's not aggressive, reef safe, all that sort of stuff, and then see what comes up. And that's a really good way of finding fish. And go to fish shops and see what you think looks cool, and then research them.
Guy's just come back. He's saying the flooring is a worry. They are very, very heavy when they're full. So I'm not 100% sure, but I'm 99% sure. So I have a concrete floor here, and there is, you know how there's like a little silicon bead that runs around like a tile floor between the wall and the tiles. Well, the tiles have moved down,
Okay.
even on a concrete floor along that wall. And I just think, has this lowered the floor because it's so heavy?
By like a millimeter.
Yeah. It's like this pulled the silicon away basically. So it must be doing something.
There you go.
Yeah.
The only real way to find it is if you know what's under your floor. If it's concrete, then you're probably fine. But if you don't know what's under, best way, lift the floorboards up and the carpet up and actually look, because you might have really solid beams. You might not have much there, to be fair. Last question, and we are actually going to wrap it up. How's the reef bot coming along, Ryan?
Why would you even ask me that? You know how it's coming along.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yes, I know. I actually moved it today from where it was into the kitchen specifically so that I could set it up. Because you need to have a waste thing, so I'm gonna have the waste go. This is just a temporary location for it. I'm gonna have the waste going into the sink, so it just drains away. And then
That's a good idea.
That's what?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's just a temporary thing until I find a better solution. Because I said that eventually it will go upstairs in like a little office I've got. But until then, I just thought, well, I'm playing around with it. But I moved that this morning with the idea of setting it up. And look, it's already set up. I literally just need to turn it on. I just haven't read the instructions on how to press turn on, because it's literally, it comes complete, fully set up. You have to cut the cable ties off. That's it. So it should be set up in 6 months or so. So it should be fine, but it'll be sorted by next week. I promise you.
Okay. And last question, Riviera, or not really question, Riviera Reefer really wants the Frag 17.5.6. I really like that tank, water box, but wish it was 20 inches deep. They do custom service, so you could spec it and have the exact same tank, but 20 inches tall rather than 18 inches.
Do you know what a block and beam floor is? Because apparently he thinks I've got Les thinks I've got a block and beam, but I've literally seen my floor below the tiles because the house wasn't built and it's like solid concrete.
I got no idea. I don't know, but what I do know is that I'm going to go and have a nice holiday.
Yeah, true.
And bye.
Yeah, see you later.